If you are having a home birth or desire to labor at home for any extended period of time, you need to make sure that you watch this entire video because I am going to be talking about all of the things that I am doing to prepare for a home birth, why we chose to have home birth, and what we're going to be doing to ensure that we have a positive and beautiful home birth experience. My name is Chanel. I am a doula, childbirth educator, lactation educator, and a lover of all things birth. I am a mama of two with one on the way in the next couple of weeks, and I help families go from a place of feeling unprepared and anxious to getting to a place of feeling fearless, confident, and empowered to have a very positive birth experience. If you are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. This is our first home birth and I'm super excited about it because we have literally had every single sort of birth experience that you could have or birthing environment that you could be in for the last two babies. Our first baby was born via C-section, emergency C-section in the hospital. Our second baby was a unmedicated VBAC in a birth center, and this baby is going to be at home. So we are excited to have this experience. Ultimately, wherever you give birth should be where you feel peace and feel comfort. Regardless of where that is for you, this is going to be a really helpful video for you because if you are desiring to have a natural birth or you're desiring to labor at home for any extended period of time, you need to know how to do that. There are a lot of different things that people will say as to why home birth versus hospital birth versus birth center birth. You just need to choose what's best for you. There are no right or wrong answers. For us, a home birth makes sense for us this time around because we have experienced all the other things, and this is kind of what is going to be most aligned with the type of birthing experience that we want this time around. So we're super excited. I am making this video because I got a lot of requests from y'all just to help you understand more about our reasons behind having a home birth, what we're doing to prepare, some of the things that you've asked about home birth versus hospital birth. So I'm going to address all of that in this video. So make sure that you stick around to the end where I am going to be sharing all of the essentials that we are actually using. Let's go ahead and jump right into this video. The first question that I'm getting a lot of is why home birth? Well, we have chosen to do a home birth, as I mentioned previously, because we have experienced a hospital birth. We've also experienced an out-of-hospital birth at a birth center. And what we've realized and learned since having two babies is that I am going to labor best when I'm calm, relaxed, and in a place where I feel comfortable. That is my home for me. I feel comfortable in my home. My home is my place of peace, and so this is where we have decided to have our baby. We've also learned a lot about the birthing process over the last two experiences to know that if there is something that is wrong or there's an emergency, that we will go to the place where emergencies are taken care of, which is the hospital. But if there are no signs that show any sort of emergency, we are very comfortable and trusting of our birth team to be able to do all those things here in our home. So that is one of the reasons why we have chosen a home birth. Another reason that we've chosen a home birth is because, statistically speaking, it is actually safer to give birth at home than in a hospital setting. As long as you are low risk or you have no complications, statistics have shown that the mortality rate of women and babies is actually lower in a home birth setting versus in the hospital. Of all the studies that I've done, because the studies are very limited when it comes to home birth, the mortality rate is pretty close to zero. There are obviously transfer situations when a mom may need to be transferred for a medical reason going to the hospital, but most of the transfers that do actually happen, meaning going from your home and actually giving birth in the hospital, the majority of those decisions are actually made by mom and partner. Maybe they need pain relief, maybe they're exhausted, maybe there's something that they just want to have access to, like pain medication. Those are not medical reasons to be transferred, those are personal reasons to be transferred. And so the reality is, most of the women who set out to have a home birth actually do that very well, and their bodies labor much better. So I wanted to be able to set ourselves up for success in our home because I knew that this was my place of comfort. I also know that I'm totally comfortable being in the hospital setting if there's a medical or emergency reason for me to be there. So if that is the case, then we will transfer to the hospital, but I do trust my birth team enough to know if there was something that was coming up that were red flags that we needed to address, that I would be transferred or suggested to transfer to the hospital with enough time to make sure that my baby and I were safe. The other reason that we chose a home birth is that We did not want to have to think about when we were supposed to leave home. I know that is a very small reason and maybe not even a big deal. But for us, and even as a doula, sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming on deciding when is it time to go to the hospital. Now, thankfully, my clients and I, we've been able to read our bodies and figure this out well enough to where my clients will show up at the hospital and birth their babies within 10 minutes. And it's happened multiple times, and so we know that that's possible. But there's also a chance that you get to the hospital and you aren't as far along as you want to be. And now we're laboring at the hospital for a lot longer than we want to, or the birth center for a lot longer than we want to. I personally did not want to have to make that decision or make that call to know when it was time for me to leave my house. So being able to stay at home and not have to think about that is something that I'm very excited about this time around, because now I don't have to worry about that intervention, which is actually leaving home. And the reality is, leaving your home is the first intervention in birth. So if I can avoid that intervention and stay home, that would be great. Another reason we chose to have a home birth is so that our children can be involved. We've talked to them a lot about this experience and they're super excited about it. So this allows it to be a very family-like experience. It normalizes birth for our children, which is very important to me. I want them to understand birth and see it in a beautiful way, and to be able to say that they did see their brother being born, versus it being something scary and abnormal and them not actually knowing what it looks like until they have their own children, or from the stories that they've heard from other people. So this is also an opportunity for us to expose them to this beautiful thing called creation and life. And then the last reason that we chose a home birth is really just because I don't want to have to get in the car after I gave birth. Like, that was a lot. The last two times I just remember both my husband and I driving home from the hospital and from the birth center. One, so excited to go home, so that's a thing too, but also realizing, like, we're gonna drive in the right lane as slow as possible because we have very precious cargo in the back seat. And if I don't have to get in my car after having a baby, I'm okay with that. And again, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but at the end of the day, it's something that I would rather avoid if I could. Another question that I've been getting a lot about is home birth safe? As I mentioned before, statistically speaking, home birth is actually safer than a hospital birth for low-risk mamas. Of course, if you do have complications, you have high blood pressure, you have something that would need further medical attention, the hospital is going to be the safest place for you to be, because some of those interventions and some of those support tools would not be available to you in a home birth setting. But if you are a low-risk, healthy pregnancy, generally speaking and statistically speaking, it is safer to birth out of the hospital than in the hospital. So yes, it is absolutely safe. You do need to make sure that you have a provider who you trust, who understands birth, who understands when it would be necessary to be transferred, who understands what are red flags, what's normal, what's not normal. But it's also important for you and your partner to know that information as well. Because I'm a doula and because I'm a childbirth educator, my husband automatically has to know all this information. But I also encourage all of the families that I work with, their partners, to know this information, because you all have to know if you're going to make informed decisions and be educated in this process of what's normal, what's not normal, what is a red flag. So that even if something is suggested to you, you will know ahead of time whether or not we need to be talking or discussing other options and knowing what your other options are. So for us, because my husband is very educated, because he has taken the classes, because he's taken my class, he's taken other classes, we've taken other classes, we trust our midwife, we feel very safe in our home, and we feel very safe and comfortable and confident knowing what could arise and what that would look like if it's something that is a red flag or something that needs to be addressed, to make sure that I'm safe and our baby is safe. Now let's talk about what essentials you need in your home to actually be prepared for a home birth. I am going to be reading off of my list here so that I don't forget anything, but this is a list of items that either I have been recommended by from my midwife or from other mamas who have had a home birth. So I'm going to go through what we have set up already and what we're going to be using throughout our home birth experience to make sure that when we have a baby, a couple hours later, our home looks exactly like it did before we had a baby, and not seem like there was a whole labor scene that just went down within the last hour of us having this baby. So the first thing is mattress protectors. Mattress protectors are essential because there's a good chance you're going to be laboring in bed for a while, and there's a good chance that you may have some bodily discharge on your sheets. So we have 2 mattress protectors, which is what we were recommended to buy. I bought 2 different ones because I was testing them out, but I've also heard other mamas who have used different things, so I'll share that as well. So what we did is we put a mattress protector down first, and we're also required to have 2 sets of sheets. So we have our mattress protector down, and then we have a clean set of sheets, and that will be what we actually sleep on after we have our baby. On top of that layer of sheets is another mattress protector. I actually ended up finding these peel away disposable sheets, which I never heard of, but I was on Amazon and I was looking up something that was affordable and could be helpful for being a mattress protector because I knew I wasn't going to need 2 in the future. So what this is you actually just put it down. It's just like a sheet. Most of the people who use it are people who work with older folks who have incontinence issues, or people who may be doing bedwetting. Like if you're doing this with your kids, I'll probably end up using this with our kids when we do overnight training. But that being said, there are 5 sheets, and so when one is soiled, you can just tear off the top sheet and use the next one because it is protected. So I have bought this for the second layer of a mattress protector. So on top of our clean sheets, I put this mattress protector, and then we put another set of sheets on that we will be sleeping in until we have our baby. The second thing we have for our home birth is a drop cloth. We will be having a tub or a birth tub or a birth pool here in our room. We're going to set everything up in our room. So we are going to put this drop cloth to protect our floor, to put under the tub so that we can catch any water, catch any bodily fluids, catch anything that would potentially ruin our carpet. So we have this drop cloth here. This is just a basic plastic drop cloth that people may use for painting or other things, but this is another essential item that you need for a home birth for wherever you may be doing most of your laboring. Another thing that we have is hydrogen peroxide, because remember, I may be laboring on top of this bed, and while our midwives will bring chucks, which are those blue little cloths, you may use them if you have pets, but it also catches any bodily discharge and is easy to throw away. There could be things that happen and cause you to get blood or other things on your sheets. And so hydrogen peroxide was what our midwives recommended that we buy, because they will take care of washing all of our sheets and things like that after the birth. And hydrogen peroxide takes blood out of pretty much any sort of fabric. So this is for washing sheets and making sure that we get our sheets back clean as much as we want. But we just decided to put a little bit of an older sheet on top so that if something does happen, if something stains, we're not really worried about it or we're not losing much. Another thing that we have is olive oil. Olive oil is really helpful for a few different things in birth. For one, it's really helpful when you are pushing. Sometimes providers will use some sort of ointment or lubricant or oil as you're pushing to help that perineum stretch. And olive oil can be used for that. So this is something we can use, that your provider can use, your partner can use with a warm rag to just help support your perineum as you are pushing your baby out. The other thing that we can use this for is baby. Baby will poop meconium, which is that black poop. And when baby lets out their meconium, it can be very sticky and kind of stick to their skin. So another helpful thing with meconium is olive oil. And olive oil, whether the meconium gets on you or is on baby, you can easily wipe up meconium much better with olive oil as a support versus just a wipe, because water is not going to pick up meconium or take it off as easily as olive oil would. So having a bottle of olive oil on hand is going to be really helpful. You can also use this, of course, as you're changing baby's diapers for those first couple of days as they're pooping out the meconium. The other things that we are going to be using, as I mentioned to you before, I want to make sure I get this whole list correct, is we're going to be using our shower and our tub. So I'm going to be using our shower and tub for hydrotherapy. So obviously most of us have a shower, most of us have a tub, making sure that those are cleaned out, making sure that you have everything that you need in there. That is going to be something that I also utilize. You can utilize this at the hospital, at the birth center, or even in your home. But it's a really, really great labor tool that you can use as you're preparing for baby. Another thing that we need and we'll have on hand for home birth are soft towels, because when baby is born, we're going to be using those towels to kind of keep baby warm. If we need to get any gunk out of their face, we'll get some gunk out of their face. Whatever needs to happen, we're going to have some extra towels on hand. If I need some towels, we're going to have a handful of towels off to the side so that we can utilize those just like they would outside of our home or in a hospital or birth center setting. we will have a tub in our room so that if we do decide to have a water birth, which would be ideal in this situation, but things don't always turn out the way that you want them to. I desired to have a water birth with my second, but when it came time to push, they were like, do you want to go to the water? We can go get the tub ready. And I was like, no, I'm actually feeling really good on land. And I actually gave birth in the bed, not our bed at the birth center, but I felt the strongest in the bed. So we're going to have the tub here just in case. But of course, if you are having a home birth and you do desire to have a water birth, you will have to rent or buy a tub. Most times midwives will provide that for you, that you can rent it from them. Also having a food grade hose, something that has not been outside that could have bugs or bacteria or anything in it. Getting a new hose that you can either hook up to the outside to help fill that tub up, hook up to your water heater to help fill that tub up, or have an adapter to hook up to your sink or your shower to fill that tub up for your water birth. So a food grade hose is going to be essential. Make sure that it's long enough to reach from wherever your tub will be to wherever your water source will be. The other thing that you'll want to make sure that you have for a home birth or laboring at home as long as possible are snacks and drinks, because we are going to be laboring for a while potentially. And even if you're not, you need to make sure that you're staying hydrated and you're staying nourished. So having a lot of snacks on hand is going to be helpful and important to keep your energy levels up. Some of my favorite things to have in labor are coconut water for the electrolytes, oatmeal bars, granola bars, honey sticks, something to give you a little bit of a boost but not make you so full or make you nauseous. I drank a lot of coconut water in my second birthing experience. I did a lot of honey sticks. This time around, I'm going to probably do the same thing. I loved oatmeal bars. Those were helpful for me. Bananas are really helpful. The other thing is having a little bit of juice on hand, because sometimes when we get really exhausted, that boost of sugar can give us a little bit of energy when we need it as we're getting exhausted towards the end. So making sure to have snacks and drinks on hand is going to be essential, whether you are laboring at home or laboring in a hospital or birth center setting, just to make sure that you have enough to keep your body and your partner's body energized. These are the things that I'm doing to prepare for our home birth. It is obviously not super extensive because it doesn't have to be. You're in your home, you have all the essentials. My midwives will be bringing all of the medical equipment, anything necessary for us during the birth, like IVs or medications or anything else, suturing that we may need for the birth itself. Our midwives will be bringing that, so that's not something that we have to worry about. But on our end, it's actually pretty simple. It's just a matter of getting our home together, getting it organized, allowing our midwives and our doulas and our support people to know where things are if they need access to them, and making sure that we have the basic essentials, like the things that I just mentioned to you, to make sure that we are taking care of our home in the process of this birthing experience. So I hope this was helpful. If it was helpful for you, give me a thumbs up on this video. If you are planning a home birth, let me know down below. Let me know how far along you are and what you're doing to prepare for your home birth. If you have other questions, also make sure to drop those in the comments below and I will respond to them. If you are desiring to have a home birth, or you're desiring to learn how to labor at home as long as possible so that you can spend as least amount of time as possible at the hospital or the birthing center, make sure you sign up for my Work Your Birth program. I will walk with you hand in hand. I will provide you doula support and education support to get you and your partner to that place of confidence, to be able to have that positive birth and to be confident and comfortable laboring at home as long as possible. I have dropped a link down below to book a call with me if you are interested in that. Let's talk and see how I can support you to get to where you want to go. Thank you again for joining me. See you on the next video.